that WNBA TV ratings are down more than 50% since Caitlin Clark's injury. And it was also reported that the Indiana Fever television viewership is also down over 53%. Now, I know a lot of us were expecting some sort of dip since Caitlin Clark has been out with injury, but I don't think all of us were expecting the entire viewership of the entire WNBA.
The WNBA just got hit with a harsh reality check. Without Caitlin Clark, the playoffs feel like watching Netflix buffer forever. Slow, frustrating, and empty. Ratings didn't just slip, they completely tanked, dropping like your phone dying at 1% right when you need it most. Fans aren't sticking around either. They're flipping channels, falling asleep, or moving on to pickleball highlights instead. And that's the problem. The league finally had momentum, finally had the spotlight, and now it's fading fast. Without its brightest star, the WNBA playoffs don't feel electric. They feel flat, like a show missing its headliner.
Guys, today, is there any chance that the WNBA, that Kathy Engelbert saw some of the ratings that I'm about to show you now and said, hey, Indiana Fever, can you do us a favor? Can you do us a solid? Can you just tease a Caitlin Clark return, kind of boost these up a little bit? Can you just dangle a Caitlin Clark return in front of the fans' faces, try to boost these ratings up a little bit? There was one matchup that this league can consistently rely on to produce massive viewership numbers.
This season was supposed to be the WNBA's big breakout, the moment the league finally owned the spotlight. Instead, it's been a total crash and burn. Think face first into a giant bucket of nacho cheese. Sloppy, embarrassing, and hard to clean up. What makes it worse? The league is acting like everything's fine, like this meltdown was part of the plan all along. Fans aren't buying it, and the buzz is slipping away fast.
A shocker. Imagine my surprise. Just imagine my surprise when Uncle Casey found out that the WNBA is struggling to maintain their ratings without Caitlin Clark. To make matters worse, and this is something I have definitely noticed in the last 3 or 4 weeks, especially since the All-Star game, the WNBA seems to be struggling to maintain interest.
Let's be honest, the WNBA season is spiraling into a full-blown disaster. What was hyped as the league's breakout year has instead become a messy mix of injuries, sloppy officiating, and a commissioner acting like player safety is optional. Fans wanted competitive basketball, but what they got feels more like a blooper reel on repeat. And the biggest storyline? Caitlin Clark spent more time on the bench than on the court. Opponents are treating her like a crash test dummy, and the league looks powerless to protect its brightest star. Without Clark driving ratings and energy, viewership is nosediving. People aren't tuning in for chaos. They wanted a revolution. What they got instead was a season unraveling in real time. Don't forget to subscribe for more Fever breakdowns, WNBA updates, and daily hoops talk. Only here on Celeb Zone Daily.
When I think about Caitlin Clark, the operative word that comes to my mind is gratitude. There's an incredible level of gratitude that should be accorded to this young lady with what she did for the sport.
How was the attendance for Team USA in the Olympics? What would it have been like if Caitlin Clark was playing on that team? Remember the first game? Look at this right here. National broadcast viewership. What are we talking about here? 1,000, what is that? 1.219? Is that the number? And the game afterwards got 485,000. So the Fever and their game against the Minnesota Lynx was 1.219 million.
You can tell things are bad when the main conversation isn't about highlights or playoff runs, but whether the league can even make it to the finish line. Right now, the WNBA feels like it's being held together with nothing more than duct tape, and that duct tape is hanging on for dear life, practically begging fans not to notice just how close everything is to falling apart.
The WNBA's black superstars should thank their lucky stars for the record ratings Caitlin Clark is detonating, even if new fans are mostly white fans. It doesn't matter what color eyeballs are. But the other day, I must admit, it hit me like Katie Bell Henderson telling me that's enough.
And let's be real, the officiating this season has been flat out embarrassing. Half the time it feels like the refs were picked up from a mall food court and told to put on a whistle. One is probably still chewing pepperoni pizza while deciding on a flagrant, and another looks like they thought they were reffing roller derby. The consistency is a joke, somewhere between a magic 8-ball and a fortune cookie. One night a player gets shoved to the floor and it's nothing. Next night, someone sneezes too hard and they're tossed. There's no rhythm, no standard, just chaos. If refs had a stat line this season, it'd read, 0 control, 100 missed calls every single night.
The WNBA has a problem, and that problem is Caitlin Clark not playing in WNBA games. Now, what all does this affect? The ratings are plummeting. Guys, there's ratings for a couple of these games that are eye-popping.
Now let's talk about injuries, because honestly, the WNBA this year doesn't even look like a professional basketball league. It looks like an orthopedic surgeon's Christmas wish list. Caitlin Clark has spent more time on the trainer's table than on the hardwood, and it's not hard to see why. Every time she tries to drive, defenders treat her like she owes them money. She's basically the league's crash test dummy. You'd think after the third or fourth time she gets flattened, a ref might blow the whistle. But apparently, that's optional. But Clark isn't the only one getting wrecked in this basketball apocalypse. Sophie Cunningham, who was supposed to be one of the faces of the future, is now starring in a brand new show called Sophie's Torn Something. Her season's done, just like that. And instead of the league scrambling to keep her in the spotlight, it almost feels like the commissioner's office sighed in relief. One less player they actually have to promote properly. And then comes the cherry on top, Angel Reese. She didn't just get hurt, she straight up walked out mid-season. That's usually shocking in any sport. But here, it almost feels like commentary on the league itself. Think about it. Refs look like they're auditioning for clown school, players are dropping like flies, and the defensive principles everyone talks about might as well be printed on tissue paper. Why would Reese stick around to risk another hit that feels more like NFL training camp than WNBA basketball? At this point, the injuries aren't just bad luck. They're the story of the season. Stars are out, lineups are gutted, and fans are left wondering if anyone will still be standing by the playoffs.
That's not a trend that the WNBA is excited about. That's a trend that Kathy Engelbert would say, hey, Fever, hey, Lynn Dunn, hey, Kelly, hey, Amber, can you guys start dangling that Caitlin Clark return like you used to do? You know, before Caitlin Clark gave a statement and you guys were hands off? Can you guys, just string them along a little bit more? We want to get these ratings back up. We want to get these numbers.
Here's the thing. None of this is happening in a vacuum. The WNBA has been begging people for years to take them seriously, to give them real attention, to finally step out of the shadow of being just an afterthought. But the league itself? It's doing everything in its power to sabotage its own progress. Let's start with leadership, or, more accurately, the total lack of it. The commissioner acts like player protection is some radical, futuristic idea we aren't ready for yet. Enforcing rules? Making sure star players aren't mauled every other possession? Apparently that's too much to ask. Imagine the NBA letting LeBron James get body-checked into the fifth row every trip down the floor. The league would collapse faster than a cheap folding chair at a family barbecue. But in the WNBA, that's just another Tuesday night. And speaking of collapse, let's talk ratings, because this is where it really gets ugly. Early in the season, when Caitlin Clark was actually playing, numbers spiked. People tuned in, curious to see if the hype was real. ESPN suddenly pretended they cared. Highlights hit SportsCenter, and half of Twitter started acting like they'd been lifelong experts on the pick and roll. For a minute, it felt like maybe, just maybe, the league had momentum. But then Clark went down, and the ratings went with her. Faster than Angel Reese's mid-season exit, fans dropped off. Turns out, when your entire marketing plan revolves around one player and your officiating strategy is let her get punched in the face until something breaks, it doesn't end well. Now, sure, some fans will argue it's just bad luck. Injuries happen, fouls are part of the game. But let's be real, this isn't bad luck. It's bad leadership. The commissioner has been sitting back like a substitute teacher who's completely lost control of the classroom. Instead of addressing problems, the league just ignores them. Star players gone. No big deal. Refs making games borderline unwatchable. Fans will stick around, right? Spoiler alert, they didn't.
at Indiana against the Chicago Sky, right after that game, they opened an investigation once again into the fans where they found nothing, but the damage had already been done at that point. If some of these things happen just one time here and there, or there's one certain media personality who's just always saying these kind of things, then whatever. I feel like fans as a whole can be like, okay, whatever, this person is just a hater. But this is something that has happened over and over and over again. And over time, it starts chipping away at how much you're going to actually care and want to support an organization if they continue to do.
The players who are still standing this season? Honestly, it doesn't even feel like they're playing basketball anymore. It looks more like rugby mixed with pro wrestling out there. Half the time you're not sure if you're watching a playoff game or WWE SummerSlam. You just sit there waiting for someone to pull out a steel chair. And yet, the commissioner keeps popping up in interviews, smiling, saying the league is growing and building momentum. Come on, that's like me saying I grew 3 inches just because I put on heels. Meanwhile, the season has turned into a straight-up mess. Sophie Cunningham's out for the year. Angel Reese quit halfway through. Caitlin Clark? She's been beaten up so much she's spending more time on the bench than on the floor. What was supposed to be a playoff run feels more like a slow funeral march for what could have been. The truth is, these players deserve way better. They're giving everything they've got. While the refs look clueless, the leadership acts lost, and the league only markets its stars when it's convenient. If this was supposed to be the big year of growth, it turned into pure chaos.
I mean, it's embarrassing. It is embarrassing what you guys have done. And then people are catching on to your tactics. You got the people on Twitter catching on to your tactics. Like, look at this right here. Look at this right here. They said ESPN didn't want to show the ratings were down from WNBA All-Star Game because Caitlin Clark did.
Maybe next year the commissioner will finally wake up and realize player safety actually matters. Maybe the referees will figure out what a foul is instead of calling games like they're flipping a coin. Maybe Caitlin Clark will survive an entire season without being tackled into early retirement. But until then, the WNBA is running on fumes, and the problem isn't the fans, it's the leadership. This season was hyped up as the big one. Packed arenas, record ticket sales, non-stop excitement. Instead, the reality has been half-empty stadiums where the echoes from missed shots are louder than the cheers. You could bring your whole family, your dog, and still have a row of open seats with extra legroom. That's not growth, that's collapse. And the sad part is, the league keeps trying to spin it. Social media blasts out, another exciting night of WNBA action, like nothing's wrong. Meanwhile, fans in the comments are asking, exciting where? Which game? The replies are just memes of tumbleweeds rolling through the arena. When your marketing becomes a punchline, you know things are bad. Clark injured, Cunningham out, Reese walking away mid-season. All while refs officiate like they got lost on the way to the food court. The players left standing are giving everything, but the league around them is falling apart. If this was supposed to be the WNBA's breakout year, then congratulations. It broke, just not in the way they hoped.
This mean, Rhodes? Well, how about this? Pay us what you owe us. That looks like a ham sandwich and some Lay's tater chips right now. It's getting bad. I feel bad for Caitlin Clark. She come out and said on Sue Bird's podcast that she's feeling the pressure of not playing in these games. And that Fever Sky viewership fell off the map.
Let's be real for a second. The commissioner has turned into a walking punchline. Every time she's on camera, she's out here smiling like nothing's wrong, saying the league is in the best place it's ever been. Are you kidding me? That's like the captain of the Titanic bragging about how beautiful the ship looks while it's literally sinking. Technically, yeah, it's still floating, but not in any way that actually matters. She's basically perfected denial, like a magician trying to distract you with cheap card tricks while the whole stage is on fire. Fans are screaming about the injuries, the awful refs, the fact that star players keep getting wrecked. And what do we hear back? Nothing. Or some canned corporate nonsense about reviewing protocols. Translation? We're not fixing a damn thing. But here's a big word salad to make it sound like we care. And you don't even have to be a genius to see the problem. Look at the NBA. They protect their stars like they're national treasures. You breathe on LeBron, that whistle is blowing. Same with the NFL. quarterbacks get treated like they're wrapped in gold. Touch Mahomes too hard, and it's a 15-yard penalty. But in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark gets body checked into the scorer's table, and the refs are like, play on. No foul, no call, nothing. And then everyone acts shocked when fans check out, ratings tank, and arenas look emptier than a high school gym. This isn't bad luck. This is bad leadership.
I've got some good news and some bad news for those who are fans of pretend basketball. For those who are desperate to see the WNBA succeed, even though this dump of a league can't seem to get the hell out of their own way. Now, the WNBA, they refer to these people as fans, but the rest of us, we prefer to call them the mainstream media.
And let's just talk about the fans for a second, because honestly, they deserve trophies just for sticking around. Imagine spending money all season, tickets, jerseys, subscriptions, only to sit through a circus of chaos. Half the stars are injured, arenas are emptier than a library on a Friday night, and the officiating? Please. I've seen tighter calls at middle school intramurals. The diehards must feel like they're stuck in the most toxic relationship imaginable. They keep showing up, hoping things will finally get better, and instead the league forgets their birthday, crashes their car, and then somehow blames them for not being supportive enough. Protect Caitlin Clark, they yell. Fix the refs. Show some leadership. But what do they get back? Silence. Or worse, the same recycled PR nonsense about growth and momentum. Growth where exactly? Ticket prices are higher than my phone bill, and half the games look like Sunday pickup at the YMCA. It's laughable. And here's the brutal question no one in the commissioner's office wants to say out loud. Is the WNBA actually on the brink of collapse? Because from the outside, it looks like it's hanging off a cliff by one sweaty pinky finger. Ratings are dropping. Ticket sales are embarrassing. Star power? Gone the second Clark hit the floor and Cunningham walked away. The so-called momentum evaporated overnight. And here's the kicker. If the WNBA collapses, it won't be because fans didn't care. It won't be because women's sports can't succeed. It'll be because the leadership flat out failed. Failed the players, failed the fans, and failed the league itself. Because honestly, how do you build a future when every season feels like a lottery of who's injured this week?
You see, this is exactly what we were talking about. WNBA All-Star ratings are in for 2025, and it is down 40%. 40% from last year. That's bad. That is really bad. We already watched the ticket prices drop by more than 50% because Caitlin Clark was not playing. This is bad news for the WNBA.
Hit that subscribe button for more fever insights, WNBA news, and daily hoops updates. Only on Celeb Zone Daily. And before anyone tries to sugarcoat it, let's just call it like it is. This season has been a total disaster. No amount of fancy PR spin can hide that. You can't just slap a fresh coat of paint on a collapsing building and call it a mansion. The WNBA can hype the playoffs all they want, run marketing campaigns, or tweet about record-breaking moments. But fans know the truth. This season has been one long blooper reel. What makes it even worse? The wasted opportunity. Caitlin Clark had people tuning in, talking, getting casual fans invested for the first time in forever. This was the moment to show the world the WNBA could shine. Instead, the league failed to protect its stars. Want to know how to kill fan loyalty? Charge premium prices to watch games that feel less like basketball and more like rec league, just with slightly nicer uniforms. It's a masterclass in self-sabotage. The frustrating part? It doesn't have to be like this. With real leadership, refs who actually know the rules, and a commissioner who prioritizes player safety, the WNBA could thrive. Instead, we're stuck watching a slow-motion collapse. One twisted ankle, one missed call, one lost fan at a time.
So all of you guys can sit there and say, oh, you guys are just trying to uplift one player. Oh, the league is more than one. I agree, the league is more than one player. It's more than one good basketball player. But is there more than one player that moves the tide?
As the season drags to a close, let's be honest, it's been a total mess. Injuries, blown leads, inconsistent officiating, and a league that keeps pretending everything is fine. The commissioner can talk all she wants about growth, but fans see the chaos on the court. If things don't change, if players aren't protected, if leadership doesn't step up, if stars are treated like props, This mess isn't going anywhere. No amount of hype or marketing matters if the best players can't stay healthy. This season has proven one thing: the WNBA can't thrive without its stars. Until that changes, fans are left shaking their heads, wondering why they should even tune in.